Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now on today's video, I'm going to make a DTF shirt. So I found this beautiful shirt at Michael's. It is a Bella canvas shirt. They are so soft. I only buy them when they're on sale. So I got this at Michael's and I'm going to put a DTF print on it. So I looked for something on Creative Fabrica because I have a Creative Fabrica membership and I think I found the perfect design. So, in addition to the shirt and the Creative Fabrica design, I'm going to use some DTF powder. Now, this is Yamation DTF powder. It's what I typically use. It didn't come in this container. It came in a bag. I cut the front of the bag out, taped it onto this container that I got at the Dollar Tree store, and this is what I stored in. I also have some Yamation DTF film. Now, this fits my printer. I use a Pro Color DTF printer, and it's the smaller printer that they have. And so this is the film that fits my printer. I'm going to print my design using the DTF film in my Pro Color DTF printer. Then I'm going to add the adhesive powder to the back of it. This is what gets the ink to stick to the shirt. After I've powdered it, I'm going to go ahead and cure it or cook it in the DTF oven. Then we'll be ready to put it on the shirt. I'm going to also use this lint roller and a piece of parchment paper. So if you're interested in this type of project, stick around and let's get started. Now, before we do, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing that. If you do, make sure you tap that bell and select the all notification. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content. At this time, it's time to open up the Pro Colored RIP software. Now, most printers don't print white ink, and so a RIP software is a type of software that helps your printer manage that. I want to go ahead and make the screen just a little larger. And then to bring my design in, I go up here to add a picture. Then I can type in part of the name. Now that I see it, I can go ahead and move my cursor down onto it. And then I can either hit Enter or click on the Open button. Now this came in way too large, and so I need to make it smaller to fit onto my film. Now it said that it came in at 18 by 15, but it does look at this extra space. You can see extra space above the Sweet and below the Summer, and it includes that in the file dimension. Let me go ahead and turn this 90 degrees and then move it over onto the picture of my film. Now I'm going to adjust this just a little bit until I like where it is. Now sometimes when you print DTF prints, the very first of your image doesn't get a lot of white ink coverage. And so I'm just making a couple of little copies of this design, and then I'm going to move them to the top of the sheet. That way, that ink can start flowing before it gets to my actual design. Once I'm happy with the placement of everything, I go right up here to the word RIP. It's letting me know that some of the picture is outside of where it can print, but that's just due to that blank space. So I go ahead and click on the Yes button. Now here's the settings, and most of these were the default settings from when I set up the printer. But I go down here and I want to make sure that mirror print is on. Also, I have this set to print automatically once the RIP process is over. Now I can go ahead and hit the print button. Once I do, that RIP process starts, and as soon as it's done, my image starts printing. Notice that even though my little images didn't touch the words when I had it on the screen, now they do. It has something to do with the mirroring of each image individually. So because of that, I need to reprint this. Somehow they also ended up at the opposite side of the film as well. Now they're down by the S's. I need to figure that out. But because of that, I am going to reprint this image without the little designs on it. Now here's the final image. This is the back side, and that white ink is really going to make it where the colors pop on the shirt. So the next step is to go ahead and powder the back of this. Now this powder is the adhesive that makes it stick to your shirt. And I got this little Sterilite container at Walmart. I think it was about $3 or less than $4. You know, everything at Walmart's like $3.99 or $3.96. So I think it was $3.90 something, but less than $4 when I bought it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the condiment cup out of here. I have it full of powder, and then I just sprinkle a generous amount on top. Now I used to use butcher paper to catch my excess powder, but I've decided I like this container more. All right, so let me show you what that looks like. I have powder on top of one side of it, or one end of it. Let me get that all the way to the end. All right, then I'm just going to turn this or tilt this back and forth. And I'm going to do that about 6 times. You just want to make sure that all of that ink is coated with the powder. If it's not, then you're not going to get a good result. All right, was that 6? Close enough. So I'm going to tilt this up, the extra powder falls off, and then I tap it to get all of that excess off. Now we're ready to put this in the oven. So we're going to go over there. I'm going to heat this at 120 degrees Celsius for 150 seconds. Now I'm using an actual DTF oven to cure my print, but you don't have to. You can hover it under a traditional heat press. You can use a griddle. You can even use an upside down Cricut Easy Press. Now that the DTF powder has been cured, you can see that it's just a solid layer of adhesive. Also, even though it's shiny, it is dry. Now that my DTF print is ready, it's time to prep my shirt. So I want to do 2 things. First of all, I want to clean it with a lint roller. Now I use the heavy-duty pet ones. If they'll remove pet hair from things, they'll remove the excess debris that I want to get off this shirt. So especially where I'm going to put the print, I'm going to go ahead and lint roll this. Then second of all, I want to go ahead and preheat the shirt. That's going to do 2 things. It's going to get a nice smooth surface, but more importantly, it's going to remove the moisture from the shirt. Because even though you can't feel the moisture, a lot of the times they have moisture in them. So I'm just going to use this little craft press. This is a 12 by 9 craft press. Really, the usable space is about 9 by 11.5. And I have it preheating to 325, and I think that's hot enough to pre-press my shirt. So I'm going to pre-press in the area where the design will go. And I know my press isn't quite up to 325 yet, but for the pre-press it'll be fine. All right, I want to make sure that's squared up on the base. And it's up to 322, it's almost there. So I'm going to go ahead and preheat this for 15 seconds. All right, that is ready. Let's go ahead and get our design on it. Now what I want to do is I want to find the center of the design. So I'm going to take the outside edges and make sure they come together. And then I want to put a little crease in the bottom and the top. That's going to help me get it centered on my shirt. Now I could have creased the center of the shirt. That would have been helpful. This is not a super symmetrical design, so I think I'll be okay without that. But for purposes of this video, what you can do is you can take your shirt, fold it in 2 or fold it in half. make sure that the seams on the side line up. And then you can just press it on your, then you can just put it on your press. Now let me smooth that out. And you can just lightly press it. That's going to give me that center seam. Since I pre-pressed it, I don't need to do it very long. I just need to know where that center is. Okay, let's go ahead and get this design on. So I can see the line down the center of the shirt, and because I have my creases, I know where the center of this design is. And so I'm going to put it about 3 inches down from the collar. And then I forgot to tell you earlier 2 things. I was going to use the heat press and heat resistant tape. You don't have to use the tape, but since I'm moving my shirt, I'm not putting the design on it as it sits on the heat press. I want to go ahead and put heat resistant tape on that. So let me grab that and I'll be right back. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and just put a little bit of tape on this so it doesn't shift while I'm moving it to the press. So I'm just going to put 1 piece on each of the 4 corners. Now, before I press this, I'm going to hold it up and look at it. I just want to make sure that it looks like it's in the right place. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and get this done. Now, because this is a little press, I want to make sure that the design truly is where the press is going to come down. It's easier to do this on a regular size press. One of the pieces of tape came off. It's easier to do this on a regular size press, but I wanted to do it right here, right in front of you. All right, let's go ahead and get this settled on there. Make sure it's where there's going to be pressure. And speaking of pressure, you want to have really firm pressure when you use DTF prints. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and press this. Now, because it has film on the back, you don't need to cover this with anything. I'm going to go ahead and press this at 325 for 15 seconds. Now, after that comes out of the press, I'm going to let it cool down most of the way. I'm going to peel that film off. Then I'm going to repress it with a piece of parchment paper on top. Time to be patient, or sometimes what I like to do is I like to have a ceramic or a porcelain tile, and I put the tile down on top of it. That pulls the heat out more quickly. In this case, I don't have it over here, so I'm just going to have to use good old-fashioned patience and let that cool down. Okay, I've only waited about 30 seconds, but I think I'm good. So let me go ahead and lift this corner up, turn it around so that you can see it being revealed. And it looks cute. Look at those colors on this shirt. I think this was a great design for this color of shirt. Now, at this time, this feels very smooth, very slippery. I don't like it like that. So what most people do is they go ahead and press it a second time using a piece of parchment paper on top. The parchment paper really sets that DTF print down into the fibers of your shirt. Now, it is still sitting on top. It's not like sublimation. It's not infusing into the fibers, but doing that second press really makes a big difference. I think it feels a lot better, and it takes a little of the gloss away. So let's go ahead and do that. And when I do it, I go ahead and I just repress at 325 for 15 more seconds. And I use this parchment paper over and over. You do not need to use a new piece each time. I know I've used this parchment paper on at least 20 prints. All right. Last pressing, 15 seconds at 325. All right, I can go ahead and turn that off. It's the only shirt I'm doing today. And then the parchment paper comes off easily. Now let's look at the final result. You probably can't tell a big difference in the camera, but I assure you, I feel a huge difference. I really do. I would not skip this step. Isn't that cute? I just love that. I'm ready to wear it. I wish it were summer already. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you like the video, you just found it entertaining, please give me that thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And if you're interested in a Pro Color printer, whether it's the one that I have or a different one, I do have a link in the video description below. In addition to you receiving the same price that you would otherwise, or possibly a discount if you have a qualifying purchase, I do receive a small referral fee. So I appreciate it if you are in the market for a DTF printer and if you use that link. Also, thank you so much for your time. Until my next video, bye-bye.